A shattered man will be spending 20 years to life in prison after a jury found him guilty of killing his 10-month-old daughter. KNEB.TV News starts right now.
From your trusted source for news in western Nebraska and eastern Wyoming, this is KNEB.TV News. Presented by Platte Valley Companies, premier provider of financial services.
Hello, I'm Ryan Murphy. This is KNEB.TV News, powered by Platte Valley Companies. Thanks for joining me. In our top story, a Dawes County District Court jury has found a 27-year-old shattered man guilty of intentional child abuse resulting in death. Riley Lenhart was taken into custody in June of 2022 after his 10-month-old daughter was found unresponsive and later pronounced deceased. The 4-day trial concluded Thursday afternoon, with the jury having options to determine if Lenhart was guilty of intentional child abuse resulting in death, negligent child abuse resulting in death, manslaughter, or not guilty. The 12 jurors found Lenhart guilty of the most serious of the charges, a Class 1B felony that carries a minimum of 20 years in prison. Sentencing is set for Monday, December 4th, which will occur before District Judge Travis O'Gorman. Well, the Nebraska State Patrol continues to investigate a crash that resulted in 3 fatalities Tuesday in Box Butte County. The Nebraska State Patrol and Box Butte County Sheriff's Office were notified of a 2-vehicle crash that had occurred on Highway 2 several miles east of Alliance. Preliminary investigation shows that a Subaru Outback driven by 57-year-old Julie Sears of Santa Rosa, California, was westbound with passengers 82-year-old Gary Sears and 79-year-old Joan Sears, both of Hyannis. A semi was traveling eastbound, and investigators believe the Subaru crossed the center line and struck the semi. All 3 passengers in the Subaru were pronounced deceased at the scene. The driver of the semi, 37-year-old Eric Rumpel of Spencer, Nebraska, was treated for minor injuries at the scene. The Nebraska State Patrol is conducting a full crash investigation and reconstruction, and the case remains ongoing. And the Riverside Discovery Center received unfortunate news as it completed its 2023 AZA accreditation journey. Zoo Director Desiree Drain Davidson and RDC board member Michael Gillen traveled to Ohio last month to meet with the AZA board to give a final update on what the zoo had done since their last visit. Unfortunately, the zoo did not get reaccredited. Now, the Riverside Discovery Center has to pivot. Board President Andy Hayward told KNEB News what the ultimate decision came down to.
AZA has been very helpful throughout this whole process, and they want nothing but the best for us. Some of the issues that came up were more related to finances and staffing. Nothing had anything to do with the care for our animals, which we provide some of the best care out there for our animals.
Hayward says their next step as a board and staff is to look at their finances and try to operate a sustainable financial zoo and keep providing the high level of care for the animals. He says the AZA continues to encourage the Riverside Discovery Center, and they're being helpful in guiding them along the way to getting reaccredited.
The journey of a dream becoming reality. When we're young, a dream develops into a passion. That passion continues to manifest and grows as you do. It becomes all you want to do and all you want to be. It gives you direction. It drives you. Then your dream has become a reality. When that dream is ready to be reality, Platte Valley Bank will be with you every step of the way.
Life Care promises us that we are looked after and taken care of properly.
If I didn't have Life Care, I would be probably scared to death about having enough money for when I got older or when I got sick.
Moving in here was an easy decision and in fact a no-brainer. I looked at it as actually buying long-term care insurance, and in retrospect, a good move.
One of the things that convinces me that we did the right thing is no matter what happens, we will constantly be taken care of.
The whole thing is just vital because you don't have to be worried about what's ahead for you. It's there, it's in black and white, and that's reassuring.
This is home. It has been. from the day I moved in.
It is once again time for Husker Chat. I am Jason Jorgensen. It's brought to you by Acres Equipment. As always, we're joined by Sean Callahan, publisher of Husker Online. Nebraska coming off certainly a disappointing performance last week at home against second-ranked Michigan. Sean, what was your kind of read on the game? My read was that folks maybe understood that Nebraska wasn't going to win this game, but it was tough to sit there and take to see Nebraska really struggle and not be all that competitive.
Yeah, I think if you're an educated football fan, you know the team that Michigan has, the talent they have. I think the disappointing thing still was just 2 years ago, Nebraska almost beat this same Michigan team inside Memorial Stadium, and they put up a hell of a fight. And, you know, that team had a lot of first-rounders on it too. And so the fact that the team almost backed down from the fight, that's been the message. And Matt Rule, they came back, Jason, on Sunday with a full padded practice. I mean, it was not a walkthrough. It was a real practice the day after the game. I think it was Rule's message like, hey, you know, like we have to show up. And that was not acceptable the way we came out against Michigan.
When you look at where they're at, kind of a snapshot, 5 games in, is this about where you thought the Huskers would be? I'm sure some of these struggles, especially on offense, this isn't a surprise. We knew this team is going to struggle to score points on people, but where do you think they're realistically at after 5 games?
Well, yeah, I mean, they've been underdogged in 3 games and they've lost all 3 of them. So, I mean, if you're going off that, I mean, the record is kind of what people thought it would be. I still believe, though, a lot of us thought that 3-2 was very possible through these first 5. And you go back to that Minnesota game, that probably should have been a win. And the Colorado game, they played them really tough. It was a 13-7 game late in the third quarter, and then it fell apart. So I think, you know, if you were able to still have gotten that Minnesota win to start the year, everything feels a lot different. But now there's just a mounting pressure the rest of the way, just to kind of have a, you know, strong finish and maybe get to a bowl game. You have 7 games remaining against teams not ranked. That's never happened since Nebraska's joined the Big Ten Conference.
They have a stretch coming up where, yes, these games are winnable, but also you can make the case they could lose these games too. I mean, they have a number of 50-50 games on the docket.
They really all are. I mean, I think the Wisconsin game and the Maryland game are the 2 toughest ones on there today. And Maryland's coming into Lincoln the week after they play Penn State, so the timing is favorable. But Maryland might be the 4th best team in the league, and Wisconsin might be the 5th best team. And Michigan could be 1 or 2 or 3. So they will have seen 3 of the top 5 teams. Now, with that said, I think they'll see pretty much all the bottom teams in this conference other than Indiana. So they have a really good draw. They've got to execute. And all of these games every week are going to be down to the wire. I mean, Nebraska's not really good enough to blow out anybody. They're not going to see, though, a lot of big-time offenses, maybe other than Maryland, that are going to really stress them and test them. So they've got an opportunity, but they've got to show up and play a lot better than they did last week.
Today on Husker Chat, we're joined by Sean Callahan. We're talking Husker football. Sean, I've not asked you about this so far this fall, but I'll do it now. How is recruiting going? I've seen maybe a little smoke, some whispers, some of the guys that they did have verbal commitments from kind of kicking the tires at other places. How do you feel this class is holding together despite the fact the Huskers have not had a great start to the year?
Well, they're at 26 commits right now, and the class is ranked 23rd. So they've got a solid class right now from all accounts. But, yeah, you've got Notre Dame kind of trying to work on Carter Nelson. I mean, that's a big one to watch. But Kewan Lacey's having an outstanding year as a running back. They've got some really, really good players. Daniel Kalen, his team around him has been hurt, but I still think he's a fine quarterback. Carlin Jones, the D lineman out of Houston, is, one of the more under the radar guys. We have him as a 4-star add-on 3 right now. They're very high on Carlin Jones. But yeah, Willis McGahee's probably one of the names you worry about in this class. But I think in general, it's a top to bottom solid group. And, they might have 1 or 2 more spots left here to fill before it's all said and done.
How about this week? A Friday game. I made it known. I don't like Friday games, and nobody asked me, but that's what Nebraska's doing. It works for Illinois to have this thing on a Friday night. Seems like the Huskers maybe get them at a good time. The Illini did not look good last week at all, being blown out by Purdue, who themselves had struggled this year.
Yeah, in year 3 of Brett Bielema, it feels like this is his worst team. I mean, in year 1, they were respectable. They had some nice wins. Year 2, they almost won the West. Here they are, year 3. They're really struggling as an offense. They didn't convert a lot of third downs. Purdue blowing them out was a huge surprise. But you just didn't see that coming. I think Nebraska, the atmosphere for a road team is favorable this week. I can't imagine there's a lot of people fired up to drive into Champaign on a Friday night. You know, they put these games on Friday night for television reasons. They generally try to get a school that's willing to give up a home game. So it's always a Illinois, a Maryland, maybe a Rutgers, maybe a Purdue, Indiana, those type of teams. And then they try to pair a team like Nebraska or Iowa, somebody that will draw a rating. And they put these games on Friday knowing that it's going to get a much better rating than if they had it in the Saturday lineup. And Nebraska has played a lot of these. I mean, they've played about as many of these Friday night road games since Sean Eichhorst signed him up for it a few years back.
Okay, when you start to boil this matchup down, what's the biggest key for the Huskers against an Illinois team that one of the most penalized teams in the nation?
I just think establishing a rhythm on offense and running the ball. I mean, they had no rhythm, and it started right off the bat with the interception. They had some penalties too, and they were just 5-yard penalties, but Nebraska's not good enough to overcome a lot of those 5-yard penalties right now. So they've got to be buttoned up on their formations and their procedural penalties, and you know, get Anthony Grant going. He only had 6 carries last week, but Jason, that game was like 46 snaps or something of that number. They did not play a lot of offensive snaps in that Michigan game. So they've got to, you know, maybe get that number closer to the mid 60, high 60 range, as they were probably 20 snaps under what they normally would be in that game last week against Michigan.
All right. Hopefully they can put it behind them and play much better on the road and square up the record at 3-3. Sean, as always, we appreciate the time. Have a great trip out east.
Thank you.
And that was Sean Callahan, the publisher of Husker Online, joining us for Husker Chat. We're here every week, and it's brought to you by Acres Equipment. I'm Jason Jorgensen.
Welcome to Kelly's Liquor, your liquor cabinet. Whether you're a wine enthusiast, a whiskey sommelier, a tequila connoisseur, or you just love your beer, Kelly's has the best selection of what you're looking for. Family owned and operated since 1946 and right on 27th Street in Scottsbluff. Come see us today at Kelly's Liquor, your liquor cabinet. And remember to be a good neighbor. Don't drink and drive. Kelly's Liquor, West 27th Street in Scottsbluff.
Fly United Airlines, operated by SkyWest with Western Nebraska Regional Airport. United is dedicated to going the extra mile for you with daily flights to and from Denver, along with a commitment to excellent service. Reserve your flight today, and remember, United miles can be earned and redeemed with your flights. While at the airport, stop and enjoy authentic Italian food at Roma Italian Restaurant. Plus, Hertz Thrifty Car Rental is there for your car rental needs. Make life easier, relax, and get on board with Western Nebraska Regional Airport.
It's fall in western Nebraska, and that means one thing: harvest time. Here on your latest installment of Fridays in the Field, brought to you by FNBO, the Great Big Small Bank. Catching up one more time in 2023 with Glenn Miller of Miller Farms, located about 10 miles north of Henry, Nebraska, right on the Wyoming border. Now, we've been covering everything this year, from the hay harvest, dry bean season, and of course, corn. Glenn, last time we caught up, it was just before you were harvesting your dry beans. Kind of give us an overview of how that all went down.
Okay, well, we got them all done last week, finished up bean harvest, and was probably what I would call an average crop. Didn't have any issues with rain or anything, so that was good. Finished probably a few days later than we usually do in the fall, and we planted winter wheat behind them on all of our acres.
All right, and I know traditionally you start right around Labor Day for your dry bean harvest. Was that on par this year?
We started about then, but we had to wait on some to mature and finish ripening to finish them up the latter week of September. So.
And how were the weights, the quality of the bean, anything out of the ordinary from a normal, if you can call anything normal, a normal harvest?
No issues with quality. Yields were in the 40 to 53 bushel range, so average in mid 40s, give or take. So no problems with issues with quality or anything like that. So that was good. Yep.
All right, and all that's left, I think, is corn. How many acres of corn do we have for 2023 harvest?
Oh, we'll be harvesting around 600 acres of corn. We do have a cutting of hay that we're just going to be cutting this week and get baled up next week, hopefully. So the last cutting of that.
Now, how many cuttings of hay did you get out here in 2023?
Most of our ground's having 4 cuttings.
And is that a little above average or right on par?
That's pretty much typical for these years right now. One of the farms that had some hail will only get 3 cuttings on it. So.
Unfortunately, you were able to avoid the white combine this year. I know it's always a crapshoot, but the weather has cooperated pretty much through and through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no early frost. Looks like the end of this week it probably going to have some frost, but that's pretty late anyway for most of the seasons we usually have.
Now, driving up, I noticed the corn quality looks great, but I still see a little green on the stalks. Are you still a little ways out before you can get ready for actual harvest?
Yeah, we do all of our corn as dry corn, so it'll take 2 to 3 weeks, I'm guessing, before any of it will be dry enough to put in bins and store and stuff like that. It sometimes takes a good killing frost to start taking the green on out the rest of the way now and things like that. The weather looks pretty good next week, so it'll be drying down in the near future probably.
All right. And what are you expecting for total time for harvest? I believe in years past you've gone clear up to Thanksgiving time. If we are able to start in mid-October, when do you think we'd be able to have completion with no egregious errors?
Oh, we can usually wrap it up in 3 weeks' time or so. Just depends on moisture and snow and weather in between. So usually about 3 weeks, hopefully by mid-November we'd be done.
All right, and I was talking to, before the interview, have a new toy for the harvest season. Picked up a new combine. I guess, what are your hopes with that one?
Hopefully it runs and works good and we don't have any issues with it. So.
And that came from eastern Nebraska. Whereabouts?
North Platte area. Yep.
Okay. Eastern for us, I know that's pretty far west for a lot of other people. Yeah. All right, so if we can get done with the corn harvest, what is kind of the quote-unquote off-season looking like for you? What keeps you busy before you can get back into the fields in early 2024?
We'll be running cows out on corn stalks, putting up fence, taking care of water for them as soon as we get the corn out, and just some general repair work on equipment and getting it set up for the next year. So mostly that. Hopefully have a little downtime in between somewhere.
Yeah, I think you've earned that after all the blood, sweat, and tears that you put into everything for this year's crop and harvest. And I guess if you had to rate everything up to this point, would you say this is an average year, a great year, a substandard year? You've been doing this for, probably 35, 40 years. So, I mean, where does 2023 rank when all is said and done?
The corn looks like it's going to be good. You know, we haven't done any yet, of course, but it looks like it should have good yields. The beans were what I would say average, and wheat was above average. So, you know, overall, pretty good year. We've had more moisture than normal for sure. Sometimes that brings storms with it that we don't like, but that's the way it goes. So it looks like it'll be, I would guess, above average year anyway overall. So.
All right, once again, catching up with Glenn Miller of Miller Farms for one final time in 2023. We're doing the last Fridays in the Fields out in Sioux County, Nebraska. Fridays in the Field brought to you by FNBO, the Great Big Small Bank.
Logos in Gearing is the place to get all of your school spirit gear, personalized gifts, and promotional items for your business and employees, and banners for any special event. Logos is also the only place to stop for custom screen printing or embroidery. You can even design it yourself on their interactive website. Stop into Logos today. They'll design it, print it, and have it to you in no time. There's no job too big or small for Logos. That's Logos in Gearing.
Let's take a peek at your weekend community calendar brought to you by Riverstone Bank. The community calendar is brought to you by Riverstone Bank. We're local and we love our community.
You deserve to have a building that will last for generations. With more than 110 years of experience and thousands of satisfied customers, Morton Buildings is the industry leader you can trust. If you're planning for a garage, farm shop, horse barn, storage building for your RV, boat, or collectibles, there's no better time to buy. Contact your local Morton sales office or visit mortonbuildings.com to get started today.
At Platte Valley Bank, we want to help you take advantage of every adventure. We know you have plans, goals, and dreams. Let us help you with them. Whether you are just starting the business you have always imagined or looking to grow your existing one, we have a business loan to fit your needs. Stop in and see us at Platte Valley Bank and let us help make your dreams a reality. You belong here. Platte Valley Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
And finally tonight, records fell at the 12th annual Platte Valley Company's Monument Marathon on Saturday, and race director Jennifer Reisig said she couldn't be more pleased with this year's event. Brian Morseman of Wheeler, New York, broke the men's full marathon record by 46 seconds, while Rebecca Peterson of Casper, Wyoming, shattered the women's full marathon course record by just over 11 minutes. Reisig said that they had to get the course recertified this year, and despite the added legwork, it's really fun to have new records on a brand new course.
In fact, I was joking. I said I shouldn't want to give away more money because, of course, we're a fundraiser, but it's always fun when those records are broken, and we always love it. So super excited about the men and the women's full that broke the record today. And, it's been a wonderful day, a little bit of cloud cover, fog, a little cooler than we thought it might be right now, and just a great group of people and a great day.
The 2024 Monument Marathon is scheduled for Saturday, September 28th. Well, that does it for us this time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday.